Marvelous hello, friends and loved ones! You know what? There are a few things in this world that I just really love. I love the color purple. I love the aesthetic style of Game Boy Color games like Hamtaro Ham-Hams Unite. I love 2D platformers. I love cute girls. So it should come as no surprise that I really like Shantae. Really like Shantae. Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about the very first Shantae game, unsurprisingly titled Shantae. The game came out for the Game Boy Color late into the console's lifespan. How late, you're asking? Well, this year marks Shantae's 20th anniversary since her first game came out in June 2002, and to put that into perspective, the Game Boy Advance came out in June 2001. The title was developed by WayForward Games, whom you probably know best as either that company that does a lot of licensed games, or that company that makes a lot of cute girls. While Shantae is primarily seen as one of the champions of indie gaming, this first title actually caught the attention of Capcom, who helped publish the original game. Most of you are probably familiar with physical copies of Shantae being infamously expensive and hard to come by these days due to its late release and limited printing. So I won't, say the thing that I already said. Annoying fun fact, because I was so late to getting a Game Boy Advance, I actually picked up this game back in 2002 brand new, but stupid young teen me lent the game to a friend who ended up moving away before I ever got it back. I'll probably never see my copy again, but at least I have closure. In the form of complaining about it to strangers on the internet. Anyway, Shantae gained cult classic status, though ports were limited, pretty much only getting a 3DS Virtual Console release in 2013. But in September of 2020, WayForward announced the original game would be coming to the Switch, both digitally and physically in April 2021 through limited run games. And as you already saw from the start of the video, you better believe I snatched that right up. It only took me 19 years, but I finally got another physical copy of the first Shantae game. Okay, but enough about the history. What is Shantae? At its core, it's a search action title starring an adorable half-genie named Shantae. She serves as the guardian genie of Scuttletown, and the game opens up with an attack by the infamous pirate queen, Risky Boots. And to really open this video on a positive note, it's honestly kind of impressive how much of what makes Shantae a great character and series is present in this very first entry. The opening tutorial stage through Scuttletown feels great, and if you have any familiarity with the series, whipping your hair back and forth to take out enemies will come as naturally as breathing. This first level does a fantastic job of establishing Shantae as the town's guardian genie. It introduces us to Mimic, our elderly father figure and inventor of the steam engine, essentially this game's major MacGuffin. And to gush about it now, as one of the last Game Boy Color games, this game does some awesome stuff with color. The way the sprites change when there's fire or when you're in shadow. I know it might not seem like anything special nowadays, but this game really feels like it took full advantage of what the console was capable of. And then at the end of it, we get our first showdown with Risky Boots herself, who is a fantastic antagonist. She's animated and pompous, commanding and sexy, threatening and... I'm starting to think Risky Boots might be part of the reason I am the way that I am. Once you're out of that tutorial section, the rest of the game is pretty easy to explain. Risky Boots stole the plans for Mimic's steam engine, and in order to fully utilize its power, she aims to collect 4 magic stones from 4 guarded labyrinths. So it's our job to try and get them all first. It's a little simplistic, but one aspect of this plot I do really like is all 4 stones make sense in the context of using them to power a steam engine. You've got the Dribble Stone that can produce unlimited water, which works in tandem with the Sizzle Stone that creates unlimited heat, essentially making an endless supply of steam. Then there's also the Ice-based Twinkle Stone that keeps it all from overheating, and the Golem Stone that is there too. From there, you'll utilize Shantae's abilities to run, jump, dance, transform, use special items, and most famously, whip her hair back and forth to defeat enemies. It's an iconic attack for the character, but unfortunately in this game the reach on her hair is a little short. You're also able to buy a couple of special upgrade attacks from one of the shops that are supposed to allow you to attack with more mobility, but I found more often than not trying to use these just led to me getting hit more often, so I stuck with whipping my hair back and forth. Generally speaking, your goal is to make your way to whatever town is next. Each town is explored with this pretty nice perspective of Shantae moving around. You'll always find a shop, a bathhouse to heal yourself, a save point, and one thing I like is that each town has one unique location. For example, Scuttletown has a dance hall where Shantae can shake her groove thing, yeah yeah, to earn some extra cash, but only at night. And then there's Oasis Town with its weird lizard gambling den. But once you've done everything, you'll always need to swing by and talk to one of Shantae's well-established friends like Sky or Bolo, who I guess weren't really well-established yet, with this being the first game and all. But they'll help her get into the nearby labyrinth so she can recover one of the 4 stones. The only character that doesn't just straight up help you is Roddytops, who has always been one of my personal favorites. She challenges Shantae to a race, where if you win, she'll help you get into the Cackle Mound, but if you lose, she'll eat your brains. And this race minigame kinda sucks. And so Roddytops knocked Shantae to the ground. A ravenously hungry twinkle gleamed in her eyes. "What are you going to?" Shantae tried to ask, but was at a loss for words as Roddytops began eating Shantae, just as she'd promised. Shantae was unable to describe the sensations going through her body as Roddytops' mouth went to work on Shantae's... Wait a minute. That's dumb. It'll take forever to reach the brain from there. Inside each of the 4 labyrinths, Shantae will free one of the Guardian Genies and learn a new transformation dance. These essentially act as the upgrades that will allow Shantae to explore more of the world around her. There's the monkey, which is definitely one of the most important, as it can climb walls. There's the elephant, which is slow, but can destroy obstacles like boulders or stumps to open up new areas. There's the spider, which can climb different walls, and is definitely the most situational and least useful, with one major exception I'll get to later, and the harpy, which can straight up fly, allowing Shantae to reach just about anything. And if you're thinking you can use the harpy to just fly over all the areas in the main world, you're right, but don't worry. To keep it from being boring, they decided to just fill the sky with a buttload of enemies that just float around. If you're playing the game on a Game Boy Advance, or in the modern version if you simply choose the Game Boy Advance version option at the main menu screen, you'll also be able to unlock a Tinkerbat Transformation dance. These essentially act as a combination of the monkey and spider while also having a useful sword attack, making it arguably one of the better transformations. I definitely had a lot of fun with this one. At the end of each labyrinth, you'll fight a boss, most of which really aren't anything too special. Also, sometimes they just feel really out of place. Like the boss of the Cackle Mound, this horror-themed dungeon located in a zombie-filled swamp and filled with shambling corpses, creepy eyeballs, and spiderwebs is a robot that turns into a ball. Okay. I'd say one of the biggest weaknesses in Shantae is probably Sequin Land itself. Now there are some cool and unique areas, from sprawling forests to toxic bogs to cornfields with endless scarecrow armies. But they're really big, and while Shantae does have a few collectibles here and there, each screen feels like it goes on for way too long without enough to do in it. Easily the worst map is the waterfall stage from early on that has a lot of vertical platforming. It can be pretty easy to fall into a bottomless pit, which sends you back to whichever entrance you came in from, no matter how close you were to the next screen. This also costs you one of your precious lives, because... yeah, Shantae 1 has a live system, and it's kind of terrible. The only way to get extra lives are few and far between in the labyrinths themselves, and losing all your lives sends you back to your last save point. Not your last save state, mind you, so if you end up getting a game over in one of the dungeons, you'll still have lost any items you used along the way. So you're almost better off just reloading, unless you want to try your luck at the gecko races or just kill endless waves of snakes to get some more cash. I honestly found myself preparing for a dungeon, saving my game, and then just intentionally getting a game over before even attempting a labyrinth, just so I could start it with as many lives as possible. However, it is worth mentioning that the game does reward your failure, with the game over screen being a slow and detailed pan-up of a super nice looking sprite of Risky Boots, so that definitely helps soften the blow. I said earlier the world is mostly empty, but there are some neat things you can find in the world map. There are 4 special totems that allow Shantae to actually attack while in her animal forms. Don't know why those had to be unlocked, but okay. Then there are heart containers that can increase your maximum health, and sometimes you'll just find fun, weird stuff that you'll never see again. Like this clown that likes watching cute girls dance.
Who doesn't?
But he'll only move out of your way if you use the special item that creates a separate Shantae before you dance for him. Then he's all like,
"Oh, there's two of them."
Before flying off and exploding. That is crazy. I love it. You'll also quickly notice while traveling that Shantae has a day and night system, much like... And enemies gain way more health at night. I feel like this system was mainly implemented to showcase even more of what the game could do with color, and there are 12 fireflies that can only be collected at night, but the enemies having more health really just felt like an attempt to stretch things out, and I didn't care for it. After you collect all 4 stones, Risky Boot steals them from us and activates the all-powerful steam engine, so Shantae has to track down her hideout and fight the Pirate Queen once and for all. This is where the spider actually comes in handy, because if you got that spider power-up, this fight is a breeze, because the spider's attack basically turns it into a gun. Told you I'd get to that. Sequinland is saved, Shantae gets to keep her job, and then the credits roll. Overall, I feel like I'm being kind of harsh on the original Shantae. I want to stress that it's by no means a bad game, and if anything, I'm happy to say the biggest flaws in this title aren't problems later, because the developers kept what worked and fixed what didn't. Obviously, it's not fair of me to expect the original Shantae to be as good as the entry in the series that came 15 years later. Honestly, every other problem the game has wouldn't even be that much of an issue if it weren't for the live system. Getting sent back to the start of a stage because a leap of faith caused you to fall into a bottomless pit would still suck, but knowing that it costs you one of your few lives is the main thing that made it annoying. I genuinely do want to say nice things about this game. The colors are fantastic. The sprite animation is gorgeous, from Shantae's classic booty wiggle to most of the game's enemies. The story is, in my opinion, absolutely perfect for this type of genre. It's simple enough that it doesn't need to have super lengthy cutscenes, but each character gets enough dialogue to stand out as memorable and charming. But the question at the end of the day is, do I recommend Shantae? And the answer to that is not a simple yes or no. Speaking as someone who started with this game, I don't really recommend it as a starting point. Sure, I got grandfathered into the series because that's all that was available at the time, and a lot of my love and devotion was born from nostalgia, and Shantae's midriff. But now we live in a world with better Shantae games. If I had to recommend a starting point, I'd probably go with Half Genie Hero. Then, if you end up liking the series, or if you're already a fan who just hasn't played the original, I can recommend going back to it and seeing how much of the groundwork was laid out from the start, or just appreciating how far the series has come over the past 20 years. With the recent port to modern consoles, it's easier than ever to grab an official copy of the first game. And this is a solid version to pick up. It comes with the option to play the original or GBA enhanced versions. There's a nice little art gallery you can look through, and there are even save states that I really wish I'd known about before I finished recording all my footage for this video. Overall, Shantae is still an above average game, and there are circumstances where I can recommend it, but I don't think it's the best available entry to help create new fans. Before I go today, there is one last thing I want to bring up. Like I mentioned before, 2022 marks the 20th anniversary of Shantae, and something I was considering doing this year was covering all 5 Shantae games throughout the year. I wouldn't do them back to back or anything, but I'd like to get fan feedback on this to see if it's something y'all would even want to see me do. So let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see me tackle the remaining games this year or not. I do truly take feedback seriously and want to put out content that you'd all be interested in. But for now, I think that just about covers everything I wanted to say about the original Shantae. I definitely have a soft spot for this series and its characters, and I'm really glad I got a chance to talk about this one.
And so, I'd like to close this video out by simply saying, I really like Shantae.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, be sure to click like, but if you really liked it, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Extra special thanks to all my friends and loved ones over on Patreon, which you can pledge to today to see your own name in these ending credits. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care.